Hi everybody, welcome to Sprague Woodturning. My name is Jim. So this week we're actually going to rescue another bowl. And it's this huge 16-inch diameter piece of butternut that we actually turned on the channel. Rough turned. And as you can see, it's got a pretty massive split in it. So this is a pretty valuable piece of wood. Here in Ontario, this is a protected species, so you can't cut it unless it's actually dead before harvesting the tree. So it's dying of what's called butternut canker. So every one of these bowls that I get, I certainly try to do something with, or every tree that I get. So anyway, what we're going to do is cut this area out and inlay some resin, and I think we'll also do a resin pour in the rim as well to match. So that's this week. Hopefully you enjoy it. Anytime I can get a thumbs up on my videos will help with the analytics, and sharing my videos on your social media platforms is absolutely crucial to the channel as well. So please do that, and don't forget to comment. All right, so let's get this mounted on the lathe, and I'll show you what I want to do and the reasons for that. All right, so ordinarily when we're cleaning up the foot on the bowl, we put it in on the lathe like this. Bring it up here and tighten it down. Now, the only problem with this method is there's a lot of flex. If you've got a really small bowl, it's not such a big deal. But on a bowl this size, there's a lot of flex at the rim. I'll move the camera and show you. So that's, way too much flex for me. And, the bowl can end up kind of vibrating, and then you got a bad catch, and then there's shrapnel everywhere. So what I want to do, the one-way live center comes with a cone, and I'll show you that. So here's the cone, and most times it's used in this configuration, right, like this. What I'm going to do is turn this around like this. There's a little arbor pin lock, if you will. I don't use this attachment very much, but it's nice to have it if you need it. And then what I'm going to do is turn the bowl around. Fortunate enough to have a live center mark already. So that'll go up in the chuck here on the drive pin. And that should basically self-center itself. Now there's virtually no movement out of this, so it shouldn't vibrate very much. And that way, we'll get the largest possible bowl out of the blank. So anyway, I'm going to strip off the outside, do the top. This is too big for my mega jaws to hold on to, I believe. And this is another great opportunity where you can go in and basically clean up the bulk of this before you carry on with putting your glue block on the bottom if you're worried about the weight and mass of this thing, even though butternut is actually quite light. And anyway, that will take the majority of the mass out of it, and you should have a better turning experience. All right, so let's get this cleaned up, and then we will get a glue block on it. Yeah, so that cone is maybe 3 inches across. I don't even know if it'd be that. And just that 3 inches there will really stabilize that bowl so that the rim isn't wobbling all over the place and flexing. So again, it's kind of it's a safety thing. If you have issues, you should use this method. All right, so I can't move my banjo under the bowl because the bowl is too large. So, this is kind of the sucky thing. And I mean, this isn't a small lathe. This is a 20-inch lathe. But of course, the banjo here is easily probably 2.5 inches high. So, it becomes a pain sometimes. So, I'll just loosen this off, try and hold the bowl where it is, slide the banjo over, and then put everything back in place. And hopefully it's not out of balance while doing so. There, it's pretty good. And this is where the advantage of having a lathe that has 24 inches that can do a 24-inch diameter is far superior to this type lathe. So like I said earlier, this is a good opportunity to take a lot of the mass out of the bowl to, make it more steady, make it more round. This is not really so much a big concern with butternut because butternut's actually very light. But if this is say hard maple or walnut and you've got that it's that much out of round, then yeah, you may have some vibration issues. So while it's pinched between centers like this, take a lot of that mass out of there and it'll be easier on the other end. Just doing some final prep here with 60 grit before we put the glue block on, and you can see reference marks. So I put those on when it was pinched between centers, and that's just an aid to glue up, to line up the glue block. It's a little out of balance, but not too bad at all, actually. We're eyeballing it. It's pretty good. I never mentioned it, but we are using a 5/8 bowl gouge here by Dave Ellsworth. And it does a real good job on this butternut. Butternut is soft, so you have to make sure that you have good sharp tools when working with it, or else you're going to get tear out. So keep that gouge sharpened, and you shouldn't have any issues. Just prepping the area here where the resin's going to go. Again, you don't want to leave any of that bark in there. And of course, these inclusions, you could also have dirt and all kinds of crap in there. So, it's best to clean that out of there if you can. Get it down to good solid wood so that the resin has something good to bond to. You should never bond resin to bark because the bark can come loose from the piece, and then there you go, you've got a failure. This is my 3/16 inch parting tool by Crown. It's the tool that the parting tool that I prefer to use when I'm doing inlays in the rim. I do have a thinner one, but this is the main one that I use. So we're going to use Deep Cast from Designer Epoxy. So pistachio, we haven't tried that before. Pistachio green, something different. So that's why I decided to go with it this week. Something maybe a brighter resin might have looked good in this too. Anyway, I've got lots of this butternut. We'll do some experimenting. There, hopefully you can see what's going on. What I'm going to do is fill up the void out here, and then I'll bring this in the clean room, and level it, and then we'll do the pour on the rim in there. Now I'm just using a syringe here to fill this, like so. And we're just going to cast this on the bench. It's too large to get in the pressure pot. So that's why, one of the reasons why I'm using deep cast, to allow all the bubbles to come to the surface and get out. And the rim, the Pro Series would be way too much for the rim. So best to stick with the deep cast. So, all right, I'm just going to take this in on the bench, level it in there, and then we'll pick up the rest of the pour in there. Well, we're all leveled. Sorry about the lighting. That's the best I can do in here. Just want to top this reservoir off in case it drops. That's not bad for estimating. That's all I got left. I just put some swirls in it. This is only about a half hour after mixing. So I'm sure I'm probably going to have to wait a little bit longer to do this. This may stay. I don't know. I'll come back out in, say, a half hour and check on it again. And if the swirls have disappeared, then I'll put them in again. Not sure if I'm totally sold on it yet. Almost kind of olive drab-ish looking. But if we can keep this kind of detail, then you know what, I'll be happy. Anyway, I'll come back out in an hour and check on it. But for you guys, we'll see you in a couple days. We're back with the Hercules here. Again, this is a great tool for these wood and resin combos. Even if you're just using it as a roughing tool to get down to whatever dimension you want, and then switch to the gouge, these carbide tools are worth their weight in gold. There's that final shear scrape that I like to do with that long edge on the sweatback grind on the Ellsworth gouge. And it does a real good job cleaning up that end grain prior to sanding. Starting to expose the sides of the resin here. I know that a lot of you were probably saying that, oh, I screwed up. I forgot to seal the wood before we did the inlay or did the resin. But no, it was planned. I wanted to have this kind of a wraparound type resin at the top. So here you're going to see the difference between high-speed steel and carbide. There's very few cuts on that gouge, and the edge is gone. And then you switch to a carbide tool. This is again the Hercules, and it just keeps going. And I eventually go back to the gouge once I get that rim flattened, And that's just, I use the gouge on its long flat edge just to clean up any little bit of chatter that may be left behind from the carbide tools. And, now that I'm doing resin, I'm really glad that, I've got these carbide tools to help me. Again, just going down and cleaning up all those little resin areas that are down there. Uh, the hot melt glue that's down there. I do prefer to strip off the hot melt glue with the gouge prior to using the carbide tools here, but you certainly can do it without it. And that's a push cut, very similar to a gouge with the Hercules. And, push cuts, side cuts, pull cuts, it can pretty much all be done the same way that you use a gouge. The one thing about the Hercules, though, it will really, really heat up. So it's not bad to have a little cup of water laying around to dip it in to cool it down. It's actually quite surprising how hot it can be. And, that just shows you how hard the cutter's working. There we are with the 3.5 inch dimple discs. I always start at 60, and I think in this piece I went to 320, and then we had to do some little bit of filling with the CA glue. All right, so what do you think so far? It's a little hard to see, but it does kind of look like a snake skin, which is kind of cool. I'm kind of on the fence about it. We'll see when it's all polished out what it looks like. So got a couple spots that need to get filled. I'm not gonna actually, there's some down in there. You see that hole there? And I got a few little spots on the back side here too. But they're so, there's really not much to them. I'm not gonna mix up any of the pigment, but I am gonna use the thin CA from Starbond. Fill in these holes. And there is a link in the description for 15% off your next order. Just use code INLAYJIM at checkout. If you need some CA glue, I am going to try and keep this off the end grain as much as possible. There's a crack along there that needs to get filled though. Then I'll just use the accelerator to set it. The problem with this right now is that there's a possibility of staining the end grain, so you got to be really careful at this stage. You've opened the pores of the wood, so it's going to absorb whatever it comes in contact with. Right there. So I always spot sand before I actually carry on with normal sanding. If you don't, you're probably just going to leave kind of glue humps left behind. And everything was sanded at 800, and then of course triple E compound to buff out the resin. It's so important to clean with denatured alcohol before the first coat goes on or any other coats go on after that. That triple E compound will actually leave a residue on the bowl, and if you put the finish over top of that, you could encounter some issues. All right, we're going to go with the Osmo Extra Thin 1101. I must say, I do love me some butternut. Beautiful color. The finish certainly has helped to bring it out. Zoom in on the inlay here, or sorry, the resin. It is certainly olive drab. Pistachio. I don't know, what do you think? That's cool, I really like that detail there. Alright, I'm just going to let this sit on here for 5 or 10 minutes and then wipe it off. And then, it's too bad this wasn't early in the day, or it's actually 5:30. But if this was early in the day, I would just keep dumping coats on this till I get 4 and then let it sit. But I'll do that tomorrow and be interesting to see what we come up with. Sure is pretty. Alright, so we're back with the clear extra thin. So I'm going to put a coat on, and then I'm going to actually use the white Scotch Brite pad in my drill and work it into the surface and let it sit. We'll let it sit for a half hour or so, wipe it off, do it again, and probably do the drill method again. And so I want to do that 4 times. So there's one on there, one coat on here already. So I want to do 3 additional times, and then we'll let it see. We'll see what it is. We'll see what it looks like after that. Let it sit overnight, and then possibly figure something out tomorrow. So that's what I'm doing. I am seeing that we're going to have to treat the resin areas differently. I will probably have to buff that with the triple E buffing compound. I can see just kind of little like orange peel effect actually on the resin. So I'll probably do that tomorrow, and then hopefully just put a nice coat on it with a rag, and that'll be it for that. Anyway, let's get our coats on here first. Alright, so I'm just going to leave this set now for a half hour. Wipe it off if it needs to be done. Put another coat on, and another one after that. If anything else happens within that time frame, I will bring you back. But until that, possibly tomorrow is when I'll see you next time. But it's really only seconds for you guys. Alright, so it is the next day. You know, this just isn't really working. I don't know if you can see kind of, you know, it's not cured yet. I shouldn't say that. It appears cured in areas, but some areas it doesn't. For instance, a little overspill right here. I mean, it's still wet. So, you know, what I want to do is, and there's another sticky area maybe where I didn't get it wiped down as good as I probably should. Or did I wipe it down? No, I think I left it. So, what I think I'm going to do is use the Triple E buffing pad from the BL buffing system. Buff this all back. A lot of orange peel on the resin. It's going to pick it up or not. See it there? No bueno, no good, no good. So anyway, let's just strip this off. I'll use some denatured alcohol, and then I think what I'm going to use is the Osmo poly oil, and I want to see what that does. Butternut is not a real good wood to be doing this test on, but if it works on this, it will probably work on anything. And the reason why I say it's not a real good wood to do a test on is because it's hard to get a shine off of butternut because it's so soft. So woods like rock maple, walnut, woods that are in that kind of hardness category will tend to work better and give you a better shine. Anyway, let's see what we can do with this to save it. It's not a loss. I know I'll be able to sort this out. So let's see what we can do. All right, so this is the Osmo Poly-X oil, and it is for wooden floors and furniture, high yield, clear gloss. And it's kind of funny because most clear finishes are actually fairly clear, but this has really got a lot of solids in it. And so this isn't the first time I've used this. Last time I had a really good result with it, so I want to try it again. It should be compatible with what's already on there. It's from the same company. I'm assuming it's the same. It is, food, pet safe, so it should work. But I guess we'll find out. So I'm just going to spread it on, and then I'm going to use the drill with the Scotch Brite pad to kind of buff it into the bowl, kind of like you would on a tabletop, and see if we can get this to work for us. Now this is a very, very thick finish, and typically when I use wipe-on finishes, it doesn't really work for me because it is so thick. But this stuff, I've been able to use that Scotch Brite pad to kind of level it out and even it, and so far so good. So since we have a bunch of base coats on here, I'm hoping that this is really probably only going to take a couple coats and that's it, it'll be done. So I've just cut up these the white Scotch Brite pads to fit my sanding pad. I mean, it fits, the Velcro holds it well. You will get some splattering. I find it's just kind of a matter of working getting the right speed on the lathe and on the drill. There, that looks pretty good. I'm going to leave that just the way it is. I'll do the back side and then I'll take it off and show it to you. And then we'll put the second coat on tomorrow, and hopefully that'll be it. Well, what do you think? I think that is absolutely fantastic. For butternut, it probably doesn't get much better than this. I'm not even going to throw the wax on this, but there is an issue. And I don't know if it's from swirling, but on the rim here, you can see, I don't know if it's sanding marks in the resin or if it's from the drill. I just can't get the camera to focus on there. Anyway, it's there. Hopefully you can see it. So what I'm going to do is throw this back on the lathe, and I'm just going to use the Triple E and just buff the heck out of this, and hopefully it will remove any of those scratches. And then I'm just going to put one more coat of the Osmo Poly X on there, and this will be done. Yes, all those marks, they're actually from the sanding pad for the white Scotch Brite pad. So that's all gone now. You know, really I probably could leave it like this, but I think what I'm just going to put a nice coat of finish over this, and I don't know. You know what, I'm going to leave it. I think it looks great. I'm not even going to bother with putting finish over it. After all, I mean, it is resin, it's plastic, so, you know. I think we're good to do the bottom. Awesome. Well, all right, let's have a last little look at our awesome butternut bowl. I'll start on the back side. So yeah, we had quite a substantial crack there. You know, you never really know what you're dealing with until you get it all cleaned off. But I actually didn't think that it was actually that big until got it all cleaned up. That's what it looks like inside. The pistachio tinted resin is very cool. It's almost like a snakeskin pattern. There's a good example of it there if I can get the camera to focus on it. Very cool, very olive drab for the army types in your household. Almost 16.5 by almost 4.5 high. And you know, for butternut, this is actually a fairly large piece. And again, it's protected here in Ontario, Canada, so you can't cut it unless it's dead. It's dying of what's called butternut canker. So certainly any of those pieces that I get, I try to core them and save as much of it as I can. All right, let's talk about our finish. So the Osmo Extra Thin, 4 coats of that, and then a coat of the Poly X oil on top of that. In the future, and you know, I'm still figuring this out. I've got probably at least 1 or 2 more videos coming up where we talk about the Osmo and what I want to do with that. But in the future, I'm thinking maybe I'll put 2 coats of the Extra Thin. That'll penetrate deep into the bowl and should seal up those pores, and then use the Poly X oil over top of it, and of course rub it in with the drill and the white Scotch Brite Scotch Brite pad. And you know, it never even dawned on me. I was doing some research and I pulled up videos on Osmo on YouTube, and they were doing tabletops and they were using buffers, and I'm like, of course, that's what I got to do. So that's where the idea come from for the white Scotch Brite pad. That's not my original idea. I don't know, I haven't seen it done on bowls anyway. But anyway, regardless, it made sense to me then, you know, rubbing that in as opposed to trying to get that thick oil to flow on there. That's, you know, it was never going to work. I tried it on a test piece before that, and I tried to buff it afterwards, and it just didn't work for me. And so I think that, you know, using the drill and the Scotch Brite pad is the answer to applying that thick oil, and, you know, any of the Osmo products as far as that's concerned. Anyway, let me know in the description, or sorry, in the comments down below, what you think about this week's project. The great thing about butternut, and I've got a lot of fairly large pieces of butternut coming up. It actually is, it's very light. So you can make a really big bowl out of butternut and it's not heavy. Like this is actually quite light. It's too bad that it's dying out. Hopefully they can save it. But anyway, it's a beautiful wood. Now, one of the trades of butternut, and here's an example of it right here. You see how the grain dips between these rays? So if you can get a piece that's really balanced well, and the grain, what I mean by balanced well, the grain is balanced well, you can actually, it looks like a spider web on the back of these bowls. So that's a really cool thing about butternut. And, you know, like I said, I've got some and we'll process more of this in the future and I'll show you that. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this week's project. Don't forget about our sponsors, Designer Epoxy, sandpaper.ca, Starbond Adhesives, and of course Hunter Tool Systems. All your discount codes are in the description down below, so make sure you check them out. Now, of course, anytime that I can get a thumbs up on my video will certainly help with the dreaded analytics. Sharing my videos on your social media platforms is absolutely crucial as well. My channel is growing, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's growing so fast, is you guys are sharing my videos, and that is awesome. Thank you so much for doing so. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing that as well. The more subscribers I have, the more weight I have I can go and get from sponsors, and you know, that's to benefit you guys. I'll get discount codes from them, and hopefully that will work for you guys as well. So that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's video. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do next week. I don't know. I'm weighing it right now. So anyway, take care, stay safe. Don't forget that bell. We'll see you next time.